Yo, what's up, good people? Hey, welcome back to the Pew Pew Cafe, where, man, we like to talk about all things related to good people in the industry here at the Pew Pew Cafe. And, man, we are elated that we have a good guest all the way from Detroit here today, Mr. Keenan Goggins, right? Am I saying that last name right?
Nah, Keenan Gibbons, but you good.
Gibbons. Okay, hey, Gibbons. Hey,
Affectionately
Gibbons
known as
Goggins. Hey,
KG. You know what I mean?
Hey, all good, all good. Apologies. Hey, last names are important for sure.
Oh
So, hey,
yeah.
once again, hey man, thank you for coming to the show. Hey, good people, we got a professional in the house, man. Give him a round of applause. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, we're happy to
Appreciate
have you
that.
here. Happy to have you here.
Happy
Hey,
to be
man.
here.
So listen, man. You're here at the Pew Pew Cafe, so you got to tell the good people, man, what's in your cup tonight.
Oh, this is we got a little bit of Shea by the Portier right here. Shannon
Oh,
Sharp's his cognac, his line, and they actually don't even sell it here in Michigan. So um it's a little birdie gave that to me as a gift. You know, if
okay.
y'all want a bottle, I can get y'all one. We gonna keep that on the low though. That ain't for everybody else.
Hey, we know how Detroit do it. Always got the hookup.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Ski.
I love it. I love it. Hey, I'm not drinking what you drinking. Got a little Buffalo Trace. So cheers to you. Thank you for coming on into the
Yes, sir.
Pew Pew Cafe. So hey man, let's get into it, man. There's a lot of things, man. People want to know, man. So hey, I'm gonna hit you with one of the first questions or second question it is at this point. Man, tell people a little bit about you, man. Tell.
Okay. My name is Keenan. A lot of my friends and family call me KG. I've been a Detroit firefighter for 11 and a half years now. Uh, Married, happily married. I'm a father of two beautiful kids. I have a 6-year-old daughter, 2-year-old son. So, yeah, this is a quick, intro about me. Um, yeah, was born and raised in the city of Detroit by way of Highland Park.
Island
Uh,
Park in the house.
Yes, sir. I gotta shout out my family over there. And yeah, man, that's just a quick introduction about myself and who I am as a person.
Okay, good deal. Hey, so tell us since you mentioned Highland Park, man, tell us how growing up in Detroit has really shaped you up until this point. You know, a lot of people are from different areas. You know, I'm military brat. I know it shaped me to a certain way to walk and talk and carry myself a certain way. How has Detroit area really shaped you?
It's it was my stomping grounds. Detroit, it shaped the way that I see things now, even into my adulthood. Um, it taught me how to handle myself in various situations, right? To keep a level of awareness and alertness. Um, it gave me a level of tenacity, right? Um, Very blue collar city, so I have a strong work ethic. I mean, that was a lot of that was from my family, right? But just seeing just the day to day people hustle. Detroit is known for hustling.
That's
So
right.
whether you got a career, a side job, a side hustle, whether you selling dinners out your house on the weekends, right? We're gonna get to it.
That's
So
right.
it shaped me in that capacity for sure. And then just you know a spirit of just not giving up. You know what I mean? No matter what, no surrender, no retreat. We not folding over here by any means necessary type of mentality. So um, that's who I am as a person at my core. That's how I was brought up in the household I was raised in the area that I grew up in. Once I went outside, it was the same way, right? Um, I'm the oldest of my siblings. I'm the only child by my mother. So just when I came outside and different school fights and different things that I got into, I had to learn to stand up for myself because wasn't nobody else coming, right?
Right.
So it definitely gave you that level of tenacity and learning how to stand up for yourself.
Man, we like to call that grit.
Oh
That's
yeah, a
what
lot
we
of
like
lot
to
of grit
call it.
over here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, so um, being a firefighter, man. So I gotta ask because I don't know. I only think I've only met maybe 2 or 3 brothers and sisters that were firefighters. So tell me that story. That is a interesting story, when I heard that you were a firefighter in the Detroit area. Can you tell me how that all came about? Whether it's something you always wanted to do as a kid or what, man? People wanna know. There might be a little Kevin out there, a little Joe out there or whatnot that maybe have that same dream. You don't see too many African American people willing to go into the blaze.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to be in public service, right? And first off, you got my utmost respect with the military background and everything of that nature. Coming out of high school, I wanted to be a Marine, right? And this was back in the day when everybody had landlines and things of that nature. And I had my home phone number on there. My recruiter kept calling. My mom stopped answering the phone, never let me know when he left a message, right? He actually stopped by the house. She told him I wasn't there. I didn't know any of this until I was married with children already, right?
Okay.
So I'm her only son, like I said earlier. So she was like, like I'm doing everything I can to stop him from going to the military. But how God destined, I still have a dangerous job. I'm still in public safety, right?
Right,
Um, and I have that type of I think it's definitely a gift, right? Everybody can't do this, right? I mean, you're essentially running into a burning building to help somebody where people are trying to escape from, right?
right,
And it's one of those career professions that you don't really know if you can do it until you have to, right? I have went through the academy with many of classmates and been on the job with many of people that their first couple of scenes, they were like, "Hey, I'm done. I'm out of here," right? So with me, in particular, I always gravitated to public safety. I feel that not just being a man, but just who I am, the spirit that I have, that I carry, I'm just naturally a protector, right? Growing up with Kev in high school, he can tell you, like I was kind of like the protector of our friends, even if we went out. I'm the one that's kind of watching and surveying the scene, making sure everything is running smooth, making sure everybody's doing okay. And even before I got paid to help people. If I was driving and I seen somebody fall out down the street, I was gonna be the person to stop and help. Right. So it's just I can't shake it. It's just who I am, just by nature, right? And then also what I stand for as a man. I just feel like, this is me walking in my purpose, right? And not to toot my own horn, but doing this for 11 years in the city of Detroit, it's no joke, man, right? You have to um, be able to do this day in and day out, right? And Detroit is the busiest department in the world. Detroit, Chicago, and New York. New York, they are very highlighted due to 9/11, right?
yep,
343 firefighters died that day.
that's right,
Chicago is like a sister city of us, right? Like you said earlier, a lot of grit, right? Urban city, right? Urban culture. So um, you have to be one of the ones to be on this department and do it well for really any length of time, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, that's how I got into it. I really wanted to help people, man, because I'm an EMT as well. So not only do we fight fires, but I respond to cardiac arrest calls where I might have to do CPR on the individual, shootings, stabbings, unfortunately suicides. So you name it, in 11 years, I pretty much done responded to it.
Is that a prerequisite, being a EMT, to be a firefighter?
Yeah, so most municipalities want you to have some sort of medical background, right? Most municipalities are fire rescue. Detroit was still kind of like in a dinosaur age, for lack of a better phrase, because when I first got on, it was still just firefighting only, right? But they had to catch up to the rest of society because EMS manpower, there's an extreme lack of it, right? And also, we leave the station in a minute and a half or less. As soon as that
Wow.
bell goes off, that call goes out. So what our former mayor decided to do was the national average for EMS response time is 7 minutes. At the current time, Detroit's was 14. It was double, right? So what he said was, well, my firefighters leave out in a minute and a half or less. no matter what the call is. So if I get them medically trained, then they can catch up to the national average of EMS response time. Now the difference is we don't transport. We still have to wait on EMS to transport. But if Jane Doe goes into cardiac arrest and she's around the corner from a fire station, right? And EMS is 20 minutes out, where our survival rate has just increased because we're going to respond, render whatever patient care that we can until EMS can arrive to transport. So now our average for us EMS response time is actually below the national average due to us being medically trained responding to these scenes. So even though we can't transport per se, it's like, well, I got a EMT or paramedic on that scene within this window or this time frame.
Gotcha. Man, so a couple of things that you said, man, really stands out to me. One is situational awareness that started out very early, in your childhood,
Mhm.
looking out for your friends and fellow people and your fellow man. So a lot of times that goes really a lot of people don't have the situational awareness factor. A
Mhm.
lot of people don't have the protection factor. Some people are just, they walk around with blinders on. So it's a gift that's not given to everybody. So man, props to you, hands down. So one of the things I really didn't hear was that man, you guys get a call because there's a kitten in the tree. You guys is going up to get it. So you know how they always like.
Okay, so let me I'll just speak for Detroit. I won't speak for any other departments, right?
Okay.
But to this day, with 11 years on the fire department, I have not gotten a cat out of a tree.
Okay.
We don't have a Dalmatian running around the firehouse,
What?
and we don't slide down poles in the city of Detroit anymore.
What?
Yeah, so we used to. Not when I came on. They got rid of sliding down the poles many moons ago. Probably before I was even thought about, right? Um, if you go in some firehouses, you can actually see where it's boarded up, where the poles used to be. And to give you an example as a part of the reason why they did that, let's say you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Or whenever you get up for work. You might have to get your bearings together. You might sit on the edge of the bed, hit the snooze button, whatever, right? Well, when that bell goes off in the middle of the night, your heart jumps like 60 beats right away. It's like a loud school bell, right? And so sometimes you can wake up kind of disoriented. So now you take this person that's coming out of a deep sleep and he's in panic mode to rush to go help somebody, and he goes to slide down the pole, he missteps. He's getting hurt before he responds to the call. Or if he's not cognizant enough to look to make sure the person that slid before him is clear before he decides to slide down, now you got a couple of injured, guys before they even make the scene. Right.
Gotcha.
So no poles in the city of Detroit, no Dalmatian running around, and I personally haven't gotten a cat out of a tree yet. So
Okay. All right.
yeah.
No cats out of trees. Instead of Spot running around the firehouse, we got Dobermans and pit bulls. And honestly, the only poles are in Detroit or in other establishments other than the firehouse. Got it.
Right. Yes,
Got it.
sir.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Detroit, don't hate me, man. I'm just joking. I'm just joking, Detroit.
It's
Love
all
y'all.
good.
Hey.
It's all good.
So, was there a particular person that influenced you as far as your service in like
Yeah.
a family member or a teacher or something like that?
Well, like I said, it's always something that I kind of wanted to do, not firefighting per se, but just the whole public safety realm. I even thought about being a police officer. I thought about being an EMT before, but the opportunity came. A childhood friend of mine, her father was on the fire department, and I had known that, but I never even visited a fire station at this particular time. Um, and it was the last day before they closed out the application process, and so she randomly called me and said, "Hey, I know you're working and stuff. You got things going on, but the fire department is hiring. My father told me to tell you, and today is the last day that you can apply." So I applied the last day, and come to find out, it was over 2,000 applicants that applied the same time that I did. And yeah, I was able to get hired in, and you know, his name was Gilbert Allen. Shout out to Mr. Gilbert Allen. He told me that they were hiring, and I applied and got in. And I also thank him too, um, because he didn't give me any secrets, right? He didn't. I didn't even know what to expect. He just said they're hiring. I think it'd be a good fit for you, and I applied, and now I'm here 11 years later.
Okay. Hey, shout out to him. So, for people who are interested, um, walk us through what your, the typical path is to becoming a firefighter. Um, I've seen people in the gym working out and so forth, and carrying the bags and suited up, walking on the treadmills and stuff like that. But really, people don't really know what that path looks like. It's not just like applying to 7-Eleven or anything. There is a prerequisite that you have to have. So walk the good people through, what that is.
Okay. So when I applied, and I won't even say it's a standard across the board. I mean, if, obviously people know the normal things like physical fitness, right, and things of that nature. But with Detroit, once you apply and you're accepted into the fire academy, one thing that Detroit does that is different than some other academies or departments, they pay you to go through their academy and get your certifications. A lot of other academies, you have to pay them to go through it, and you might not even necessarily be successful, right? So at least when I applied, I got accepted into the academy. I knew I was going to be getting a paycheck for my training, right? Now, before I actually got accepted, you have to take what they call a CPAT agility test. You have to take a standardized, like, written exam. It's like your basic, reading comprehension, math, that sort of thing. And I had to take an agility test, wearing a 50-pound weight vest. So upon doing my research, I was training and trying to get ready for it. I always been an athlete, always been physical, but I knew that this was going to require a little extra, right? Once I got accepted into the fire academy, during that time, you had to do 6 months in the fire academy, right? Upon graduation, you graduate, you get into the field, and then you do 6 months what they consider as a trial man, right? Which is also another word for, like, say, sub or rookie, right?
Okay.
So it's really a year-long process until you're confirmed. Because once you get out the academy, you don't technically have this job yet. You're still considered like an at-will employee.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
6 months in the academy of proving yourself and 6 months in the field of proving yourself, right? Now the 6 months in the field of proving yourself, that is basically you being the first man in, last man out. Your officer, because it's paramilitary. So you're a sergeant, lieutenant, captain, right? One of those guys will fill out what they call a TFF report, a trial firefighter report. And that report is basically day-to-day activities, right? How well you listen, right, to orders, how well you're performing around the firehouse, as far as, cleaning and daily activities and daily duties, how well you're responding to scenes, right? How well you're understanding and grasping the concept now being in this field, right? If you are growing in this profession from day one where you started to where you might be now within your 6 months in the field.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's pretty much the process. So like with Detroit police, they graduate the academy, they get their badge and their gun, you're a Detroit police officer. With Detroit Fire Department, you have to prove yourself for another 6 months in the field. Now, once you've proven that, then we have a badge ceremony because now you're considered is confirmation. You've made it. You're here. So
Gotcha.
it's strenuous. It's strenuous, man. That year process will feel like 10, and then the minute you are confirmed and you have made it, then the times will start flying by.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure there's people who don't make the cut in that year's
Oh yeah,
process. And I'm also sure that that last 6-month time frame, you get to see and witness a lot of things, and you, you know, you may not be able to handle it. The things that
absolutely.
you see. So, man, a shout out to you, and I'm glad you made it through. I mean, honestly, an inspiration. I don't know whether you know that or not, but there are a lot of people who really look up to you and thank you for what you're doing. Um, so one of the other questions that I have for you is what's the toughest part about the training that you would consider you know from your perspective?
The toughest part of the training, I think, honestly, is just the mental aspect of showing up day in and day out, right? Because like I said, I was, I played sports my whole life, and a lot of people that enter this profession have been prior military or former athletes, right? So the physical is like, okay, I could kind of handle, but I think it's the mental aspect of it, of coming in every single day, um, and just knowing what you're about to go through. Far as, okay, I got to get ready to do this physical aspect of the job again, or training, right? Sometimes it's just the unknown, right? And also learning to adapt on the fly, because a lot of times plan A might not work. So firefighting is a lot of adjusting on the fly. You can come up with a game plan as you should, but you have to be able to think quick on your feet, right? In the event that things don't go well. So they also put you through different, I like to call them just different stressors to see how you will respond, right? So we might go through a particular um training where they black out our mask so you can't see anything,
Wow.
right? And now they put you in essentially a maze, and you have to kind of find your way out. And you'll be surprised how a lot of people, how they crack and fold under pressure, knowing that this is just training. So if you're doing this in training, what's going to happen if it's the real thing? So any faults that you may have or flaws that you may have, we want to try to correct that now in training, because right now you're in a controlled environment. Once you get into the field, it's totally uncontrolled. We have a thing that we say that no fire is the same,
Mm,
right? So um, I think that's the toughest aspect of it, is just coming in and knowing you got to walk these days down, day by day by day, and you got people constantly trying to test you, right? Even the EMT portion of it, right? They have different scenarios that they set up, and they'll tell you the scenario is going to go like this, and then they send in, different people to agitate the situation, right? To
mm,
increase the stress level,
right.
and seeing how you perform. Like, do you stay in a situation that now has become dangerous? Should you flee the situation? You still have a duty to act to the person that you're caring for, right? So it's a lot of different things that they do to try to prepare you as much as they can. And I'll tell you, Mac, they still, it doesn't still doesn't fully prepare you, because, like I said, once you get out in the field, it's totally, it's uncontrolled. So I think just the mental aspect of coming in day to day and just trying to, learn how to adjust on the fly and not knowing what they're going to throw at you.
Well, so what was the moment that your real moment, the moment that you was like, "Hey, this is real." Like, what was that first situation that had you really questioning your decision because of what you were experiencing or seeing?
Okay, it's actually been a few. It wasn't like I had one that got through it like, yeah, I'm made for this.
Okay.
You the scenes, they vary. So I remember, so when you're a trial man or a rookie, um, you're first man in, last man out, but your officer is essentially attached to your hip. You're kind of like a toddler, right? So this is a new guy. I had to stick with this guy because he doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know the heart or the will that he has, right? So, or he could just be so gun ho that he's reckless. So they're gonna stick with you every step of the way. Well, there's one particular scene that I had. We caught a fire. I'm advancing the hose line, and the family, it was already outside, and they started screaming, saying their brother was in the back room. So I already started knocking down the fire on the first floor. Fire is hot, man. It's extremely hot. To let you know how hot it is, just a sidebar. With people that passed away, 9/11 civilians, you had people jumping from like the 50th floor
Right.
just because the heat was that intense, right? So that just keep that into to your your perspective and your mindset. So when they said this, they couldn't advance through the front door with me because it was too much fire. So they had to leave me. They went outside, went around the house, and they jumped in through the back window, right, to reach the civilian that was trapped. But in this moment, up until this point, I'm so used to somebody always being attached to my hip the whole time, guiding me, right? They're playing puppet master. I'm doing
Yep.
the work, but they're telling me step by step. Well, now I'm essentially by myself just for a few moments because we were the first arriving company and they need manpower to grab this unconscious civilian out the back before he, perishes. So as I'm knocking down the fire and I keep advancing and how hot it is, how dark it is, it dawned on me, you're by yourself, dude.
Oh, wow.
And so now I have to make a decision. Since I know I'm by myself for a second, do I just bail and leave and wait for help, or do I keep going, right? And then I'm also thinking about those guys. Just because some a civilian is trapped, it doesn't mean that we won't be.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is our line of defense. Water is our weapon, right? So I'm also conscious of, well, what if something happens to them? What if they go down?
Your
I,
teammate.
I, yeah, I can't leave. So I literally had a conversation with myself, Mac. I was just like, yo, my man, you gonna have to knock this down, bro. You gonna have to walk this down. And I just kept advancing. I put out the first floor. I found the stairs, and I made it up to the second floor. And now the cavalry is here, so other companies are starting to show up. Um, and I remember he's a captain now, but he was a senior firefighter at the time, a guy by the name of Ron Mitchell. I was trying to make the turn upstairs, and I couldn't. I'm like, every time I tried to go, man, I mean, it was probably about 800 degrees. And
Wow.
I'm like, I cannot make this turn. And so Ryan Mitchell was behind me, and I just remember hearing this voice. He goes, "Kids, you good?" I'm like, "I can't make this turn, sir." He's like, "Yes, you can. Here's what we about to do." And he just gave me steps, right? And I was able to knock it down, right? But I was also surprised with myself that for that whole duration of that whole first floor being on fire, I was able to put that out, right? As they were grabbing the civilian who ended up surviving.
Nice.
Um, so that was one incident. Another incident. I don't know if I ever shared this with your producer Kev, but um, I had a guy. He was trapped in a car fire. It was two guys trapped in a car fire. Um, when we pulled up, one guy he was already deceased. The seat belt, the buckle mechanism had melted, so he couldn't get out. The driver was hanging out the side window. I hop out. The whole engine compartment is rolling into the dash, into the front of the car. He's hanging halfway out the window. I run up and I go to grab him. When I go to grab him, I pull and my grip slip. I got nothing but skin and flesh all over my gear.
Mm.
I hook under his shoulders. I pull him out the window, probably from his shins all the way down to his feet was like just flesh and bone from just burning. Um, I roll him over and I started doing CPR on this guy to the point that the medics had to stop me. I kind of like just blacked out, right? Up until this point, uh, the scenes I responded to, like people were pretty much, if they passed away, they were already too far gone, right? Or it was a situation like I just mentioned in the previous story where somebody was trapped, but they went and grabbed the guy as I was doing other things. And that's another thing. Everybody has a job to do. So you can't be too ego driven. So I want to be a hero, right? I want to be able to save the guy. Well, somebody still got to put the fire out. So
Right.
this is your job in this moment. So this particular scene, I had direct hands and somebody clinging to life. And When I pulled him out, I started doing CPR, and I just want this guy to make it so bad that the medics had to stop me, which I didn't know that he was already gone, right? So the impact from the crash thrown him halfway out the window. That wasn't him trying to get out.
Oh,
But in the
okay.
heat of the moment, I don't know it, right? So I mean, not to get too graphic on your show, but it was, brain matter on the back. So he was already gone. But
Right.
I didn't know that. And so once I looked down at myself and I seen flesh and skin all over my gear, which I had to put in the biohazard bag and get another set of gear, I had a deer in headlight look, right?
Mhm.
And this is why we call it a brotherhood and why it's so important to have senior firefighters and senior personnel with you because they know these moments are coming, right? And kind of like a big brother or a father, right? They're here to help guide you through these tough moments because they already experienced it. And a guy by the name of Lieutenant McMurtry, he was a senior firefighter at the time as well. He pulled me to the side and he told me, he said, first off, I want you to know that we're proud of you. And that meant a lot, right? Because, firefighting is a lot of bravado, right? And macho, machismo that comes with the job. But this was a level of sincerity up until this point that I haven't met or encountered, right? And he told me, first off, we're proud of you. He said, because in the heat of the moment, you did what you were supposed to do, right? And he said, we also noticed you got that deer in headlight look. It's easier said than done, but we don't want you to take this home. And the best way he explained it to me that I still carry to this day, and which I help explain to newer guys, right? Because now I'm a senior firefighter. He told me we have a job and the Grim Reaper has a job. Sometimes he win, sometimes we win. But we get out there and we do this tug of war every day because we might get another W. So the way he explained that to me, that put things into perspective. He was like, we're here to only help. You didn't cause this.
Right.
You're here to try to intervene, right? And then also, my mother-in-law, she also told me too. She was like, "Son-in-law, this this is your ministry, right? Kind of like a pastor in a pulpit that provides hope. You're trying to give hope to people on some of the worst days of their lives, right? And so that's also the the mindset that I had that this is also like a ministry because on people's worst moment of their lives, you're there to try to provide some sort of aid. And you see the hope that people have when they see that rig and those flashing lights pull up, right?
No, that's
So,
that's right. And, I'm glad you said that because God didn't call everybody to do this job. He called a
absolutely.
select few, you know? And I also think about the emotional strain, and I can't really talk about it like you can, but the
Hmm.
emotional strain once the smoke is gone, once the
Hmm.
blaze is gone, once your members and brothers are gone, everybody's gone home, where those things that you still see are in your head, the vision that you just had, they don't just leave you. So,
Hmm.
um, for the people who don't know about that, can you elaborate a little more?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. Like, they say, well, don't take this home, but eventually these two worlds are going to collide, your professional and your personal, because, which I did mention earlier, in the city of Detroit, at least 2 days out the week, you're living at the firehouse.
Right.
It's 24-hour shifts, so you sleeping there and you're eating there and everything else, and so you get to know people on a whole different level. But a lot of times, once, like you said, the smoke clears, the adrenaline stops and you find yourself sometimes in a quiet place, right? These thoughts, um, they plague your mind. Um, they definitely plague your mind. And in my situation, I'm a husband, I'm a father. So when I get off, I have to be a husband, I have to be a dad, I have to interact with my kids, right? And if you don't have any stress relievers, it can really become a huge problem, right? And it'll also start to feel like a burden. And it'll start to feel like that because you'll be battling with, okay, I really want to help people. And yeah, I've had scenes where I've actually helped extend birthdays and holidays, right? for somebody and their loved one because of, you know, my skill set and God having me at the right place in the right time, but also the way that you carry when somebody perishes, right? And somebody passes away in your arms. It's tough to now come home and I got to be the silly dad that I am and sit down and try to help do homework and see how my wife's day was,
Yep.
right? And so a lot of guys don't know how to find stress relievers or express themselves enough to where they have what you have a release. Um, and I feel like you need to have a few stress relievers. Some guys it might be going to the gym. Some guys it might be, a cigar. I'm a cigar connoisseur, right? It might be, you know, talking about it to somebody, right? Um, talking to another brother or talking to your spouse or talking to a therapist. The main thing is you don't want to just keep telling yourself, no, I'm good, I'm gonna just shake it off. You get a dead child, you see hearing a mother grieve over a lost child or their spouse, that's piercing, man. Um, that's not normal, right? Most of the
Facts.
most of the calls that we respond to, this is somebody's first, second, maybe third time having something this traumatic. And I'm living this day by day just to put food on the table,
Right.
right? So it's tough. And a guy by the name of Dave Harnell used to say, I wish my mind can forget what my eyes have seen.
Mm, that's
Um,
deep. That's deep.
absolutely. It's a lot of pain and hurt behind these eyes, but at the same time, you also feel like this is part of my cross to bear because I feel like this is part of my purpose. So yeah, it could definitely severely damage you. And one thing I do want to mention with this particular question, real quick, is that you're what I'm still not prepared for. You don't prepare for the amount of coworkers that you may lose due to suicide, right? Firefighting is number one in cancer rates, right? It's another phrase which is unfortunate, but they say you want to cut 10 years off your life, become a firefighter,
Wow.
right? Due to the elements that you're around, all the carcinogens, right? And the suicide rates are pretty high, right? So that part you're not prepared for when you lose a brother that you went through the academy with or somebody that has been teaching you the job for X amount of years and then they go home and they unalive themselves and now you're wondering, questioning yourself, did I miss a sign? We were just here laughing, talking this morning, right? So it's a lot that come with it, man, that you don't know until you're in it. And even if I tell you, you won't know until you experience it.
No, I get it. Man, just hearing about it in general, I couldn't fathom what firefighters go through. You know,
Mhm.
it's different than what they see on what people see on TV. They watch different shows and they think it's, oh man, all these dudes, they get to eat good, they get to cook in the firehouse, they got the dog named Spot. They
Right.
go in and save, the husband or the wife upstairs, and all this other stuff. And they come in with little spritzer bottles and make everything all good. That is not a true deal at all, man. And so,
Other than the eating good part, that's it.
man, hey, y'all eat like some kings, man. I ain't even going, man. There's a guy here, and I'm not mentioning his name. He's a good dude, and I see his battle with his weight because,
Mhm.
but the crazy part is I'm always seeing him in the grocery store with like 2 baskets and stuff. I'm like, man,
Yeah,
if I ever get hungry, I know where I'm going. They got the best food.
absolutely.
Like, going to no restaurant.
Now some departments they have, I guess the city might provide that, but here in Detroit, we call it child. Here in Detroit, we pay for our own child. So we designate a cook for the day. And we all ante up. Okay, here's the money. He, creates a menu and he cooks 2 meals that day. So,
Okay.
yeah, you do have to watch your weight, man. You have to, especially you run at a slower house. Fortunately for me, I love running at busy companies. I feel like even though it's a lot that comes with it, a lot of trauma, a lot of sleep deprivation, it keeps me sharp, right? So and then Kev done worked out with me, plenty of times before. I try to be cognizant of my weight for sure. I also feel like with certain jobs you got to look the part. So
Absolutely.
if I say I'm a barber and my line is crooked, you're
I
gonna
ain't I ain't sitting in your chair, cuz. I'm not
exactly.
sitting in your chair.
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
going to the next guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. As you should.
So, man, one of the things that and I'm just telling you how my brain works, right?
Yeah.
So, picture this, you just got done putting out a fire, okay?
Mhm.
No one got hurt, anything else, but you went in, you and your teammates, fire's out, job is done. Go back to the firehouse. How long does it take to get that smoke up off out of your skin pores, out of your nose, nostrils, I mean, I've been barbecuing before where like, I gotta like, wash the beard and everything else and get that smell up off me because it just drives me insane. I love cooking, but
Yeah.
you know, like, but it doesn't smell like a burning house or burning apartment or anything like that. So,
Mm.
you know, my thought process is it's got to take a while to get that off. Like you're always going to smell that fire.
Oh, absolutely. So that's why one of the things you want to do after a fire, right, is decon. Um, and even with our fire gear, now they do have a company that comes around to Detroit and they clean our gear twice a year, but that's twice a year. So every fire that you go to, you take that with you on to the next because it's in your gear. So the next time that you put we call it bunker gear, you put your bunker gear on, you put your coat back on, you're putting on the last 100 fires that you've been to, right? So those carcinogens, they walk with you everywhere you go. But when I come back, essentially, I jump right into the shower. I like to use Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap. I
Yep.
feel like that kind of gives me more of a clean feeling. It kind of help, exfoliate my pores and get things back opened up. Um, so that's one thing that I do. I try to change my clothes. You want to wash your hair, right? But it still seeps out of your pores. So I've gotten off the next day and I'm in a store and somebody's like, "Is something burning?"
Whoa.
They have literally said this. And they don't even know I'm not in gear, uniform, none of that. I'm in street clothes now. And I'm just like, oh man, like,
Yeah.
or I've come home and my wife is like, you had a fire yesterday, huh? She gets, like, I showered, but she gets still, it's still off gassing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how long per se, it's actually tough to say, Mac. I don't know if there's like a real scientific study, but until I would say I stopped smelling it, maybe a couple of days. You might still even, be blowing, black soot out of your nose, depending on, you know what I mean? 2
Yep.
days later, I've had car fires and I've had a headache for almost 3 days because the things, it's not just wood burning anymore. You got all these different chemicals and carcinogens and they're mixing, right? And the materials that they're using now is not that of old, right? It might
Right.
look better and newer, but a lot of it's cheaper, right? And it's so many chemicals now, man. It's really tough to say.
I got you. So, what is one of the biggest misconceptions about a grease fire?
A grease fire?
Correct.
Um, a misconception about a grease fire?
Yeah, a lot of people say, "Hey, man, just throw some salt on it, you good." Some people like throw water on it, which I know you're not supposed to do, but there's a lot of things young people don't know what to do with a grease fire.
Please, please don't throw grease. I mean, throw water on a grease fire. It's going to
Say it
react, and
loud
you're
for the
going to have
people
a.
in the back, please.
Please do not throw water on a grease fire.
There you go.
What you essentially wanna try to get, if you can get it at like your local hardware store. Is a Class K extinguisher, right? A Class K is specifically for kitchen. Right. So anything within that kitchen, any products that you may use and that could become flammable, right? You want to use that type of extinguisher. I know a lot of people panic and they will just grab water because they see flames, but you have to be aware of what you're doing and what you're using, right? Because like, you and I both know grease is reactive to water, right? So
Right.
it's not gonna mix well. So yeah, I would try to, have a class K extinguisher if you can. Some people have used like flour or baking soda, but I wouldn't use salt. I wouldn't, and I for sure would not use water. Please.
Okay. Gotcha, gotcha. Well, man, this is the Pew Pew Cafe. So, my next question, man, is, we go down the road of firearms responsibility and being a first responder, the first responder perspective. So, as a firefighter and first responder, how did you become interested in being a firearms owner? Is it more so just being a dad or growing up in Detroit? I don't want to put words in your mouth, man, but the people need to know.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean definitely growing up in the city of Detroit was a huge influence. And then, my father owned the weapons, my cousins owned the weapons. It's one of those things too that you want to be able to physically defend yourself, but everybody not showing up to fight, right? Everybody's not showing up to fight.
Facts.
So you definitely want to have other tools, right, in your repertoire to be able to defend yourself if a threat comes, right? Even my alarm system at my house is a tool, right, that I use to try to help protect me or my family, right, to alert me if there is a threat. Um, so I think also just being like my father had me around guns early, like I mean really young. I think probably the youngest that he started introducing me to firearms is probably like 8 or 9, right? And that's one of the things too that I'm gonna teach to my kids around that time, introduce them to it because like I know, Mac, that a lot of times it's 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 a level of infatuation, right? If you tell a child, hey, don't touch that, stay away from that, this is dangerous. Well, next thing you want to know is why.
Right.
What's so
You're
bad about
curious.
this?
Yep.
Yeah. Or if they go and have a sleepover at a friend's house and you don't know if that child has access to their family's weapons or what have you, right? So I think just kind of just growing up around them, being around it. And Detroit has, they kind of bounce around within the top 5 murder, capitals in the nation, right? So I think just growing up, knowing that and being around certain things and really being around pretty much everyone that owned firearms, um, it intrigued me, and I just took a liking to them at an early age. And then just wanting to learn about it. It's not just like the fact of it just being like intriguing, but also like this is serious, right? This is something serious. So let me learn all about this that I can, right? From the dangers of it, right? Mishaps that can happen, right? How to clean it, right? Because I don't want anything to malfunction under pressure. Um, so I think that sparked my interest because if I'm going to carry something that could be a danger to anybody else or even myself included, I want to be able to operate this thing and know all that I can about it since I'm going to be carrying it on my person. So
No, good answer. The one thing that I was curious about, and I'm always curious, anytime I talk to anybody who lives in a major city versus someone who lives in the outskirts of, Florida or Texas or some, Virginia or whatever. In the city, so how has the being in the city changed your perspective on firearm culture and actually being a father and a husband?
how does it change my perspective on it?
Yeah, in the city, did Detroit mold you to always be on your P's and Q's where that,
Mm.
hey, I ain't getting caught slipping,
Oh
so
yeah, for
yeah, yeah.
sure. Yeah, for sure. I think with that, you I mean, anybody can get caught slipping, right? Nobody is always 100% on par. You try to be, but I think to think that you're invincible or that it can't happen to you, that's your first mistake,
Facts.
right? So just growing up in the city, I always tried to operate on the means of like, okay, I'm here. I need to see my surroundings, any escape routes, anybody that looked like they could pose a threat, right? Even people just walking up asking for change. I'm always kind of guarded, right? So with trying to be on your P's and Q's and having situational awareness, now when it comes down to being a father and a husband, it's like times 10, right? So even with my home, when I got my alarm system installed, the first thing I did with my house, I said, well, if I was a criminal, how would I try to get in here? Right? What do I feel is the weakest point of this house? Right? And so I made sure that I try to set up parameters to have things in place, right? So I can stop that. So even when it comes down to gun ownership, even once I leave the house, I always have one on my person, but I also have other weapons here. So, even with my safe that I have, right? It's a biometric safe. It's called Billencock, and it saves up to 20 fingerprints. It's a two pistol safe. I have my fingerprint saved and my wife's fingerprint saved. Right? It has a backup key, and you can also punch in a code to unlock the safe. So I always have something here when I'm away. So God forbid something happens and I'm not present to protect them. I had other things set up to protect them. My wife would just put her finger on it, it pops open, all she has to do is aim and squeeze. I don't want her fumbling in the middle of the night because you never know who you are until the situation presents itself, right? So
Right.
a lot of people, and I'm gonna say this for your viewers, a lot of y'all that have guns, if you might shooting at the range is fun, right? But it's different when somebody is shooting at you, right? Bruce Lee even said it, boars don't hit back. So if if somebody is shooting back at you, a lot of times you'll see people fold, man, or even not even having the awareness to get to it. I've been on scenes where people have been shot, and you go to roll them over to see the entry and exit wounds, and they have a gun in their waistband. It didn't matter because they couldn't get to it in time,
Right.
right? So, when it comes down to that, I try to make sure that my family is set up to where my wife can protect them in my absence because my kids are so small right now. But I also have them put up to a point where my kids can't gain access to them, right?
Yep.
Um, so that's extremely important. I mean, you have to lock your guns up. I've been in scenes where children have, uh, accidentally shot themselves or another relative. So you want to keep it out of children's, reach. And but you still have to also stay ready just in case a threat presents itself.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's what we say,
Absolutely, for
you
sure.
know. And we teach our kids, you know, I think when people are training, they should also train their children, you know. Being a firearms instructor and being a real big two-way advocate, especially for all people, children, they see things, they experience things, and it's our duties to teach them what that is, what could happen. But then you train them like you train. So we train. Our wives, I mean, my wife is a instructor too, can
Mhm,
shoot better than I'd probably say 60% of the people out here,
mhm.
because we train. We go through drills, we talk about it. And, you know, for the listeners, that's listening to the show, going to the range is fun. It's you can get into it, you can amp up, but it's different when it's at your house, when danger comes to your door. It's no different
Mhm.
than a little bit different, but when a fire, it's unexpected, right? So
Absolutely.
dangers are unexpected when someone comes to your door. So, shout out to all the fathers, husbands who are protectors of their family. You know when your
Absolutely.
kid is ready. You know, some people say, well, wait till your kid asks. Sometimes you can't wait that long.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a maturity aspect to it because it might like I believe I was like 8 or 9. but my son or daughter might be ready about 5 or 6, or I might have to wait a little bit longer, right? And um, just like a fire, I also look at a firearm as PPE. That's personal protective equipment. That's how
Right.
I view it. I don't go into a fire without my mask, without my air tank, without my helmet, right? So the same thing in my personal life. I feel like that is a form of PPE, and things are so dangerous now that you never know. It's unexpected, like you said. It could be, you don't have to be a bad person, right? Or a criminal to be a victim of gun violence or a crime, right? You could be at the grocery store, with shootings. Mass shootings are so popular now, and they're happening. It's so prevalent in the US. It's insane, right? That the point that we're almost desensitized to when we hear about another mass shooting on the news, right? It has happened in places that are sacred, like churches,
Fact.
right? So you never know. It could be a movie theater, a movie premiere, right? So it's it's a lot of people that are unstable that are out here wreaking havoc, and you know, I hope I'm never around it when that happens, but if so, Lord willing, I'll be prepared for it, and hopefully I can neutralize the situation, because I know that these things are out here. You can't be delusional to think that, or in la la land, or just think you're just in this bubble where things can't happen to you, man, or things can't happen at all.
We train to
So
stop the threat, right?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
hey man, so you have a podcast, uh Unk Talk.
Yes, sir.
Hey, tell us a little bit about Unk Talk. We need to know, man. So tell me what it's about, the cultural message that comes with it. Man, tell us about Unk Talk. We need to know, man, here at the Pew Pew Cafe.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Untalk is a podcast that I started to do due to your producer Kev and your nephew Kev. We have a lot of real life and prevalent conversations, right? And I remember I forgot what we were talking about this one day, but he was like, "Man, KG, man, people need to hear this. They need to hear this. You need to start a podcast, bro." And I was kind of apprehensive at first, and he could tell you too. I didn't even have social media for a long time, right? I never been like the attention seeking sort of guy, or want like the fame and notoriety for stuff. But when we have personal conversations and stuff, I think people do gravitate to me, and I may say things that may provoke thought, right, and just shape, um, give you a different perspective and way of looking at things. So, he kind of nudged me a little bit, and I was like, okay, all right, let's just give it a shot. And so I called it Unk Talk because now in this particular generation, I'm considered an unk, right? An uncle, right? I'm only about to be 37, but to this generation, I'm unk. And I also call it that because a lot of conversations that I had in my youth, when I was a young, super young man, as far as like adolescent, essentially, teenager, right? Preteen, I had a lot of prevalent conversations with my uncles, right? And so I got a lot of wisdom just from sitting around them, right? My dad, my uncles, right? And just watching how they moved, and the things that I was experiencing, and, the wisdom that they would give me, or we were all talking, how they would all chime in and give me their perspectives, right? Even when it would even provided some comedic relief to it. Oh boy, you'll be all right, whatever. So um but I had obtained a lot of wisdom being around those group of men. And so, because I wanted this podcast to have integrity, right? And I'm not gonna do anything to compromise my integrity. So I wanted to have a lot of real life conversations that I feel like we're not having today. And one of my phrases is, where the opinion may be unpopular, but the conversation is necessary. That's
Love it.
typically, part of my thing there. And so I give my opinion, I let that be known, but it might be unpopular, but it's a conversation that need to be had. Some of the topics I go into: living together before marriage, right? Is it her beauty or her brain, right? Um, it's different things that I try to dive into, especially the way that society is changing. And as much as you do need change, some things, in my personal opinion, should remain the same, right? One of the topics is toxic masculinity. Is it even real, right? Um, and so some viewers and users might not like what I have to say about it, right? But because they're engaged in that particular topic, they're willing to listen to my perspective, even if they don't agree with it, right? So sometimes we gotta agree to disagree, but this conversation has to be had. So that was the inspiration behind that. So
So, what was your favorite episode in Unk Talk where you felt was controversial but
mm,
necessary?
I got a lot of those, Mac. Well, that was one for sure. My DMs blew up off of that one. Toxic masculinity isn't even real. Me personally, and not to get all the way into it, because I have another one that I really liked as well. But I personally feel like toxic masculinity isn't real. You have people that are toxic. You have toxic behavior and toxic relationships, but masculinity itself isn't toxic, right? You can't just say that, masculinity is toxic. To me, masculinity is leadership, is guidance, right? Is provision, is protection, right? It's a lot of those things that go into it. So I don't think you can label a a trait of masculinity toxic just because you have a toxic person, right? So that's one of the ones that I got a lot of engagement on. Another one was are you too smart for your own good?
Hmm, good one. Good one.
And because a lot of times people think because of their life experiences, right, or because of the amount of degrees or certifications, this says that I'm an expert in this, right? But it's in that. That doesn't mean in life, right? You have a degree in, let's say, just education, right? You're a school teacher, right? You have a degree in criminal justice, but you have on this paper it says you're an expert at this. But just because you are degree certified doesn't mean that you're an expert at everything, right? And not only but because of degrees, but also due to you know people's racial backgrounds, right? Their ethnicity. Some people think that they're superior just because of the color of their skin, right? And when you think that you're too smart or that you're above, a lot of times you can set yourself up for failure, right? Um, and not to dwell dive too much deep into that. But it's a quote that says, "For every hand you don't shake on the way up will be attached to the ass you have to kiss on the way down." So I think you have to constantly be willing and ready to learn from different people, different ethnicities, other people's experiences, your own experiences. But once you think you got it all figured out, you set up for failure, right? And then the last one that I gave you that I really liked, that got a lot of engagement was uh, are you a contrarian and how to deal with one? A contrarian is basically somebody that always goes against the grain just for the sake of doing it, right?
Right.
Somebody that they just really like that social engagement. So whatever you say, you go right, they go left. You go left, they go right, right? And so I found out that the engagement that I got on the platform, a lot of people deal with people like that on a consistent basis.
Yeah, you hit on a lot right there, and everything you said was spot on. And a lot of people don't like accepting truth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Truth is truth no matter what. You don't have to like it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people feel like because you're the loudest person in the room, everything that you're saying is right. Now, everything you're saying might not be right. You just happen to be the loudest person in the room. That's it.
That's it. Yeah,
There's an old saying from the streets: real men move in silence." Right. So,
absolutely.
um, I like everything you said from a cultural experience. Unk Talk, would you say Unk Talk delivers what? What word would you use to classify what Unk Talk delivers to its audience?
Unk Talk, it delivers thought. It provokes thought. it makes you think. It makes you um, reassess your thoughts. It makes you reassess yourself and whatever situation that you're going through. My part of my inspiration or part of my goal was to make it like the Bible, right? And what I mean by that is the Bible is timeless, right? It's still things from the good book that apply and are still present day. So 100 years from now, when I'm long gone and somebody stumbles across this podcast on YouTube or what have you, I want it to still be able to apply in present day because everybody's going to go through a breakup. Somebody's going to contemplate living together before marriage, right? Somebody is going to call another person toxic, right? Somebody's going to be a contrarian. Somebody's going to think they're too smart for their own good, right? Um, so I think that was my goal. I wanted no matter what the time frame or era that the world is in, these are things and experiences that everybody's going to probably go through at some point in time in their life. So I think Untalk provides thought, man, to make you think and make you reassess yourself and even your own ideas and opinions.
I like it. I like it. Hey, listeners, go to Talk.
Yeah,
Lot
man, go
to take
check that
in.
out.
Yeah, got to check it out, man. So, how have your experience in public service changed the way you view today's social debates and you know with what's going on?
Uh, it's a lot that's changing. It makes you question your own mortality, right? Because even though I'm still young, right? But at the same time, I'm getting older, right? So this is firefighting is considered a young man's game. So at the age of 60, if you're still in the field, right, you have to retire because now you're considered more of a liability. You're
Gotcha.
more health risk, right? You're not a spring chicken as they say, right? So you start to, when you're in the middle of it, you essentially come on. Most people come on, a lot younger. You can start at 18. I came on at 25 and I'm still active and I'm still doing different things. And at that particular time, I wasn't a husband or a father. So as your life changes, you start to look at things a little differently and it's like, okay, what I'm going to do after this, right? Or watching the news, you're seeing things that's going on, with the mass shootings, and then you might have to have a triage situation, or just conversations we have around the dinner table about politics, right? And that's a tough part of it too, working with people that have different views and opinions, and you're like, I got to risk my life with this guy,
Yeah.
right? So that that can be challenging, right? But you just try to set everything aside, man. Because no matter what your personal view is, I'ma still do what I can to help you return home to your family and help save some lives, right? Everyone that we can, right? It could be somebody that's a racist. I'm still gonna try to save you, man. I might
I hear you.
agree with you. You know what I mean? I might save you, and once I save you, I might punch you in your face. But but this is who I am. It's non-biased, no matter what your ethnicity is, your political views, racial views. Um, I'm here to save any and everybody. When a call comes out, all I have is an address.
That's why they call it
So
public service, man. It's you might not have to like it, but you have a duty and an obligation to protect the public, even when they do some not so smart things.
crazy stuff. Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
tough too, Mac. Not to get all the way into it, but you know, it's like certain political views that prominent figures display. And sometimes I think to myself, like, man, I would have to save this guy if something happened to him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you feel like he's wreaking havoc or she is wreaking havoc across the world, across the masses, right? But once again, you're non-biased, man. You have to do just like, being in the military, you fought for people to have these views and opinions, to have these rights to voice and have free speech, even if you don't like it, right? So, you know, that comes with it. So that I mean, it makes you question things, it makes you look at things with a side eye sometimes, but it doesn't change who I am in the job that I do.
One of the things that I see in today's society is that you have a lot of people who huff, who have a lot of opinion, but
Hmm.
they're just people over there. They're not the people who are first to the fight, who are first to the fire, first people to run in. They are
Hmm.
real people out here that are protectors. And so when these huff people see certain things in the media that's going on and they should have did this, they should have did that. Why did you run in there? The building was already on blaze and it was getting ready to fall down. Why did they run in? You know, they don't get where some people are just cut different. They come from
Yeah,
a different breed. They come from a different value on life. Where, like you said, you'll run in. Where I might be like, I don't know about that. Yeah.
mm,
It's kind of hot. 800 degrees. Woo. That's too much for a brother. I'm a
right, right,
tropical brother, but I ain't that tropical. Okay.
right, right.
you know, some people they don't get that side of it, right? So,
Yeah,
I'm thankful for you know police officers, firefighters, EMTs, you name it. And going through certain trainings that I've been through, I it made me realize that there are people who they're born with it. It's in their DNA that they are
yeah,
protectors of people. You're gonna always
hmm,
find people who are just the opposite, right? So,
yeah.
um, I'm thankful and grateful for people like yourself, and man, I'm gonna tell you, here at the Pew Pew Cafe, man, we're glad to have you for sure. So couple more questions, man. I know I've been uh taking up your time and everything else, but hey, I am grateful that you're here because a lot of people need to hear this side of it. They see stuff on TV and it ain't
Yeah. This
nowhere.
ain't this ain't Hollywood.
It's not Hollywood, man. So like one of the things, what is something that you've seen in Hollywood that you are like, yeah, that ain't real.
Okay, so some of your viewers may get mad at me, but
Hey, they'll be all right. Tell them to have a drink and watch the next episode too.
right, right, right.
We learning today.
It's Chicago Fire, man. Chicago Fire. I think it's a lot of it's Hollywood. I'm not mad at the show because it's entertainment, right? Um, and then they have, they highlight the characters' personal lives and it's, the whole storyline. But, you know, a lot of these scenes that they had, it just the people that really do this, it's so unrealistic at times, right? Even they're being in the fire and they're being able to see each other. A lot of times, look, man, you in the fire, you can't even see your hand in front of your face
Wow.
most times, right? Because it's pitch black, depending on what's burning, right? And it's black smoke, right? And it's hard to hear. You can't just hear the person next to you, let alone see them all the time.
Oh wow.
So a lot of it, you rely on other senses, right, to try to go off of feelings, right, and literally feeling, right. Um, and it to me, I've only watched a couple episodes because I couldn't take it, but it seemed like everybody just make it, right? Like everybody just makes it and survives, right?
That's
I
it.
literally had a fire where somebody was like, "They didn't have to do it on Chicago Fire," and I just looked at him like, "Man, if you don't shut up and get back in your house," you know what I mean? But it's like, but it's entertainment, man. And people don't know it, and it's crazy because, um, just like I've done it. I'm sure you can being a sports fan, and Mac, I don't know how big of a sports fan you are, but we watch the game. We like you in the corner, just throwing the ball, right? It's like but we're sitting on our couches,
That's right. That's right.
and the professionals are like, it ain't that easy, bruh. You know
It's
what I
that
mean?
easy on Madden. It's that easy
Yeah,
on Madden. I did it a
right.
couple times on Madden. It
Exactly.
is.
Right. Or just like, Kev, I'm a big boxing fan, right? It's easy to say how to stick and move until you get in there. You like, I'm still feeling this left hook from 2 rounds ago,
Right,
right?
right.
So, but people are gonna be people, man. That's who they are, man. But yeah, Chicago Fire is a big, it's a big Hollywood production, when
Hey,
it
Fire
comes to
Country is
music.
real. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Right.
So, hey man, I'm glad you said that though. No, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So, hey, in closing, man, because I know I've taken up a lot of your time. And
I
I
probably took up too much, talking too much,
no,
getting
no,
in
no,
my
no,
head.
no, no. Hey, 100% grateful, and honestly, our conversation is really going to touch and move people, and also enlighten them on a lot of stuff they don't know. You don't know what you
Mm,
don't know until you know it, right? So
absolutely.
a lot of times, and I had a skewed vision on Detroit, seeing a lot of stuff on the silver screen, most
Hmm.
recently, props to Fifth and BMF, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't know the old Detroit, you know what I'm saying? The old D, now I know,
Right.
right? So I just thought they was handing out revolvers at, the 7-Elevens, bro, that's just
Right.
all you had to do, you know?
Right.
So
Say you go to the Coney Island, you get a pistol through the drive-through.
that's
Nah.
it. That's it, right? That's right. So I didn't think nobody was doing any training or anything like that. But no, I do know that there is a NAGA chapter there in Detroit, and they have Queens of Defense and things like that there. They have some
Hmm.
great stores, the 511 stores there that I've
Yeah.
frequented a lot. So, man, it just gives me a different perspective now on Detroit firefighters. And I'm grateful for you being on the show. And you're always welcome at a seat at the bar at the Pew Pew Cafe. The doors are always open to you, man. And
Oh man, I
so,
appreciate that.
man, I'm hoping that the audience, man, is happy to have you, and hopefully they got something from what we were talking about, man. So yeah, thank you for being
Oh
on
man,
here for sure.
I appreciate that,
Sure.
man. I really do. Thanks for having me, man, and giving me the opportunity to kind of dive into some of these stories and hopefully change some misperceptions of what this is and what it is that we do, and hopefully it was able to enlighten some people on the things that we deal with, because oftentimes we kind of feel like nobody cares, right? So I appreciate the opportunity and you giving me the chance to speak today. You know.
No, man. Hey, the honor and pleasure is mine. Where I'm hoping that maybe one day, uh, you know, a young person sees or hears this and feels like, man, this is what I'm born to do. Just from hearing
Absolutely.
your story, that's very important, man. So I know it ain't gonna be me. I'm not, you know, I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Not me.
Right.
Uh, I'm I would be first to the fight in a gunfight. I'm about that life. In terms of protecting somebody. But when you talk about heat and flames and stuff like that, yeah, no, not me, man. Nope, nope. I don't like the cold too, so so I'm even kill. I'm a
Yeah,
tropical brother, but it's like
I
I'm
got
I'm,
you.
I'm on the struggle right now because I'm in Michigan too.
Yeah,
But yeah, real talk. No, hands down, props to the Detroit firefighters. Keep doing what you do. Keep saving lives.
yes,
Keep being
sir.
the first in, last out, making sure everybody is safe and whatnot. So, hey, shout out to you, sir. So
Hey,
thank
right
you
back
once
to you,
again.
man. Thank you, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
Well, thank you for coming on in the Pew Pew Cafe.
Yes, sir. Peace.